Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
My name is Ann. I'm an alcoholic. I have a little cold too. I've had it for the last 4 weeks. It seems to be something that's going around, and I think it's gone and it comes back. But I'm here, and I'm going to do the best that I can. I want to welcome the newcomers, those of you who stood up as new. I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous and tell you what they told me at my first meeting. I thought they were talking to me, even though I was not the only newcomer there. They said, you don't ever have to feel this way again if you don't want to. They said, you have a choice. And I was sitting there still shaking and still hungover from the night before, wondering what they were talking about. And I'm here to tell you that I stayed around long enough to know what they were talking about. There was a young guy there. I'm really sorry that there were no chips tonight, because that's always such a rewarding thing to see, is somebody get a chip. And at that first meeting that I went to, there was a young man who took a chip for 30 days. And I couldn't believe that he hadn't had a drink for 30 days. I just thought that was wonderful. And I wondered, what do you do that you don't drink for 30 days? And actually what happened to me that night, I think, is I got some hope. I thought, well, if he could do it, maybe I could do that. Now, the woman who 12-stepped me had 4 years. But for whatever reason, it meant nothing. It was like 4 years, But 30 days, see, that was something I could kind of see. 30 days. Because I hadn't seen a sober day for years. And I just wondered, what had he done? And they just said after the meeting, keep coming back. And they said that at every meeting I went to. They said the dumbest stuff. I mean, there was nothing original. Everybody you met said the same thing. Keep coming back. And they would welcome you. And just now, as I was sitting there, I saw some old-fashioned AA. Because, was it Mary? One of the women came up and she gave Nithya her card, and she told her to call her. And that reminded me of what it was like when I was new, because all that lady right there did. All the ladies in the meetings that I went to would give me their cards, and they would say, call me. Well, I would take the little cards or the little pieces of paper, and I would stick them in my purse. I kind of hoarded them. And I would get home and I would look at them, and I would think, well, you can't call them. They're busy. I know they are. And if I kind of got in a bad place, I would look at all those little cards and numbers, and I would think, no, you can't call them, they're busy. And actually, I know they all went to lunch together, and they didn't ask me. So I just kept all those little pieces of paper. So Nithya, you may actually use yours. I didn't use mine. I had a lady who started bossing me around, who called herself my sponsor. Before I knew, I'm going to tell you like this. You know what? You can actually choose a sponsor. I didn't know that too. So she started bossing me around from day one. So she was the person I waited to call every day so that she could tell me what to do, because obviously I did not know. Anyway, I saw some good old-fashioned AA as I was sitting there, and then James came along and he was talking about commitments, and that young lady sitting there smiling, she was talking about having a whole year of, she said 365 days, and then she changed it to 52 weeks, and somebody says we had a couple of blackouts. She says, but she was here, And I thought, yeah, I know how good that feels to do something that you say you're going to do. See, because I'm the kind of person, I'll tell you I'm going to do it, and then after I think about it, and have a drink or two, I get really mad that you even ask me. You got a lot of nerve asking me to show up here. It's raining outside, you know? What kind of mess is this? And I would sit in my house and have a couple of drinks and would not have shown up here tonight and would hope that Mike forgot that he asked me. See, that's how I used to live. And now when I make a commitment, which is what we were talking about earlier, to me what a commitment means is that I tell you I'm going to do something and I do it. It's just that simple. And I couldn't do that. For so many years I couldn't do it because I would have a drink and change my mind. But I'm here tonight. I told Mike I would just love to stay at home. I have a big chair with an ottoman or footstool or whatever you call it, matching, and my husband calls it my nest. And I would just like to have sat in my nest tonight and, you know, and eaten some more Christmas cookies and watch Law and Order. But, you know, I told Mike I was going to come, so here I am. See, not just because of the commitment, but because I want to stay sober and feel good about me when I wake up in the morning. I want to thank the man who spoke first. That SONY, my experience is unlike his in that I haven't been to jail yet, and I haven't had any 502s, any of that stuff, but I was always in trouble anyhow. And so it's just kind of nice to wake up and not be in trouble with somebody. Now, I do have to tell you that I told my sister off yesterday, and I'm not sure I'm going to make her an amends. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I owe her anything. I'm going to pray about it, and if I'm not led to apologize, I'm not going to. I wonder how long I'm going to get away with that. Oh, anyway. God, I hate that. You know, you can't get away with the same stuff. It won't work anymore. I hate that part. Anyway, she had no business messing with me, and all I did was tell her the truth. But you know, you don't always have to hit people over the head with the truth. You can, I could have done it differently. So I will pray about it, and then I will apologize to her. You know, I should be forever grateful to that woman because she helped me to get right here. She helped me to get to Alcoholics Anonymous. We have something here called, not here, alcoholics have something called resentment. And she was my biggest one. She never remembered my birthday. And she's my oldest sister, so she was there when I was born. She would remember my middle sister's birthday, but she wouldn't remember mine. And I'm the youngest in the family. And it used to hurt me. And then it would just make me very angry. And I would drink at her. And she wouldn't even know I was drinking at her for forgetting my birthday and not acknowledging me as a human being. The last time she did that before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous was July 1981. And she forgot my birthday and I got drunk on her. And then when August 3rd rolled around, which is my second sister's birthday, I knew she would remember hers, so I got drunk early in the morning, or at least I tried to get drunk. I started drinking early in the morning. One of the things that lady told me, who started bossing me around and decided that she was my sponsor, was that the bad news is that alcohol, we keep drinking long after it stops working, and that's how alcoholics go insane or die. And that's what had happened to me. I was still drinking even though it stopped working, because what it used to do for me is if I was hurt or if I was very angry, I would have a few drinks and I would think, I'm not hurt anymore. I really don't even care that she forgot. Or if I was angry, I could just say the short serenity prayer on them, you know what that is, and that would be the end of that. But what happened that day, August 3rd, 1981, the alcohol didn't stop the pain. It didn't stop me from being hurt. It didn't stop me from feeling. And I sat in my kitchen that night thinking about how I could die, how I could kill myself without hurting my kids. And I am Catholic too. I wasn't born Catholic, but my mother sent us all to Catholic school, and I was baptized when I was 7 and went to Catholic school and to an all-girls Catholic high school. And I was told in one of those religion classes that the only sin that God does not forgive is the sin of despair. And if you kill yourself, that's saying that you despair of all hope that God can help you, and that you would go straight to hell, go right past purgatory, go straight to hell. So I was sitting there trying to figure out how I could bypass, how somehow not do all that and not hurt my kids and still die, because I couldn't live. I couldn't live and feel the way I felt. And that was because of my sister. That woman, she helped to get me here. And I should be grateful to her, and I should do all kinds of, I should, but I don't. She gets on my nerves. She's one of those people, I haven't learned how to get along with her yet. You know, there's some people who come to AA, they come through the doors, they find God, they find a higher power, and they learn how to get along with everybody the first year or so. I still have trouble with relationships. The book says the relationships, that my problem really stems from my relationships. And I just don't know when I'm going to get that together. Maybe when I get 20 or 25 or 30 or 50. But I don't have it now. Sometimes I'd like to be precious and wonderful and tell you that it all is just perfect, but it isn't. I was one of those people, when I got to AA, I really did think I was going to get good. And I heard and hear that we're not here to get good. We're here to get well because we're sick. But I don't want to have bad relationships with anybody, so I have to work on this thing with my sister. One of the things that first sponsor told me, she said, it's easy to love the lovable. And my sister is not lovable. She said loving the lovable that doesn't count. That's easy. So I got to work on the hard stuff and do some more character building. Right now I don't feel like it. But anyhow, I got to Alcoholics Anonymous on August 4th, 1981, the day after my sister's birthday, the day after alcohol stopped working. And I woke up that morning, and that woman that I called the night before when I was drinking and it wouldn't help, she said, do you have any more alcohol in the house? And I said, of course I do. She said, don't drink anymore tonight. Don't have anything else tonight. Just meet me tomorrow night at a meeting. And I got up the next morning and I didn't have anything to drink. And I went to a meeting that next night. And she went to Roxbury in Beverly Hills, and she told me to meet her there. And I did, and she had saved me a seat in this smoky little clubhouse that they had at that time. And the room just seemed full of smoke and loud voices, and everybody seemed to be talking at once. And I sat there, and they asked for newcomers. They asked for people to stand up, not to embarrass you, but so we can get to know you better. And I wasn't going to stand up because I wasn't sure I was going to stay. You know, she just asked me not to drink and come to the meeting. That didn't mean I had to stand up. So she gave me a poke, and I stood right up then and tried to get out my name as Ann. I'm an alcoholic, and couldn't get all that out in one breath, so I sat down, and a guy turned around who was sitting in front of me, and he said, that's okay, honey, it gets better. And it's true, it gets better. It doesn't get any easier, I don't think, because sometimes I get just like I am now. It's called defiant. You know, I'm not going to tell her I'm sorry until it kicks my butt, and then I'll tell her, you know, but I don't want to be bludgeoned anymore, and I'll tell her I'm sorry. But so he said it gets better. And it has gotten better. In the 15 years and some months that I've been sober, it has gotten a lot better. I heard Ken O'Brien say one time that it doesn't necessarily get better, but it changes. And I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to hear better, because what I wanted was to not have any pain. I also went to a meeting one day, and I heard a woman, I heard her say this, I really did, with my own 2 ears. She said we could grow through joy. And I got really excited about that, because I had been sitting in meetings and they were talking about pain and how pain is the touchstone of all spiritual growth, and how there's no gain without pain. And I thought, but I don't want to have any more pain. I've had enough pain in my life. So when I heard that woman say we could grow through joy, I just jumped right on it and thought, okay, that's how I'm going to grow, through joy. And my sponsor said, keep coming back. And she would talk to me like that, and she would look at me, just piercingly, oh God, I hated that, and I was just really scared of her. And I would go to the meetings, and I would sit there, and I wonder, what are they talking about? And how is sitting in these dumb meetings gonna not keep me from drinking, but don't you know what's happening at my house? Don't you know that my husband is getting on my nerves, and my little one is running around, and my 15-year-old is, and what is sitting in the meetings going to do? How's that going to work? And they would just say, keep coming back. And I just thought that was so dumb. It was just not an answer. And yet it was the answer. It was the answer for me. I came to meetings. They suggested 90 meetings in 90 days. And I heard that, and I thought, okay, I'll do that. And that woman, my sponsor, said, you will come to Roxbury on Tuesday night and Friday night. You will go to Felicity House on Thursday. You will go to the Marina Center on Saturday night. And on Sunday, I want you to come to Ohio Street. Then she sent my husband to Al-Anon. She told me to take my baby to Alatot. And she told me my older daughter needed to be in ACA. She had us all strung out. We went somewhere every day, and we were all afraid of her and afraid not to go. So my husband went to Al-Anon for a couple of years, and finally he used to go every Sunday at 1 or 2 o'clock in Brentwood or some such place. And he finally said to me, I don't want to go to that meeting every Sunday. It kind of breaks up the whole day. It's right in the middle of the day, and it messes up the morning and messes up the afternoon, and I don't want to go anymore. So I said, I don't know what we're going to tell my sponsor. She said, well, don't tell her. I'm just not going to go. And so he stopped going to Al-Anon. But he needed Al-Anon. He really did, because he had co-signed my stuff for so long. I mean, when I went to those first 90 meetings in 90 days that were suggested in the fellowship, I didn't know, so I did that. But after those 90 days, I decided that I did not want to go to the meetings. That I know now what that guy who took the 30-day chip, I know what he did to stay sober. He didn't drink. And I wasn't drinking either, and I could do that at home by myself. So I decided not to go to any more Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. And I lasted almost a month. And in that month, I got very, very ill. I was not drinking, but I had no program. And there's nothing worse than an alcoholic, if you're a real alcoholic, who hasn't got any alcohol and nothing else. It was awful. I didn't know that in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous it said there is a substitute for the alcohol, and it's a fellowship that we find in these rooms. I didn't know that, because I hadn't bothered to read my book. I hid it because it said alcoholic on it. I thought, oh my God, I don't want anybody to see that word in my house. So I hid my big book on the top shelf of my bookcase so that nobody would see it. In the meantime, that sponsor was force-feeding me the big book. I didn't know that the things she was telling me were coming from the book. I just thought she was making it up. But I went to the 90 meetings in 90 days, decided I didn't need AA. I could do it by myself, and I stayed home, got really crazy, and decided that I was going to drink again. So I called my husband and told him that he was the reason, he was the cause of my drinking anyway. So I was going to go get some alcohol, and he begged me. He said, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Because even though I wasn't sober per se, sober like we get in here, and with some semblance of sanity, it was a little better than it had been, because my house was in an uproar all of the time. There was always a great deal of noise, and I was the one who was making it. My husband used to run around shutting the windows, because I would go through the house cursing and swearing, and he would say, shh, the neighbors, as he shut the windows, and you know what I would tell him that those neighbors could do. And when I got sober, they thought I had moved, because it was so quiet at my house. The police came there several times, and it got quiet. And I thank God for the quiet today. You know, I was telling somebody the other day, I have a quiet, peaceful life. Thank God for it. I don't want any excitement. I used to think that excitement was the only thing I lived for. Now the only excitement I have is driving around on empty. You know, I get such a thrill out of, you know, when the little thing goes to empty, and then when the little light comes on. And when that light comes on, I see how far I can drive while the light's on. I went 14 miles. I set the thing, I could go 14 miles with the light on. That is exciting. I also know it's nuts. But you know what? That's the best. I don't care. I don't care. I'll take it today. Because what I used to do was harmful. You know, running around making all that noise and disturbing the neighbors and frightening my children. It was not fun for them. Anyway, during those few weeks that I didn't go to Alcoholics Anonymous but didn't drink and got so sick, a woman that we knew, an acquaintance of ours, committed suicide. And my husband and her husband worked together, and when he came home and he told me about it, I just felt so badly for them. We had gone once to Mazatlan together, and I remembered what a sweet lady she was, and I felt so bad for her and her family. And we went to the service, and it was a funeral mass in a Catholic church at night. And when we got there, and this happened December 18th, 1981. And when we got there, her daughter was there, and she was a 17-year-old girl. And even though it wasn't cold like it is tonight, it was still December. And she was wearing a sleeveless dress. And all I could think was, if her mother was here, she would have had her put on a sweater. And I thought my heart was going to break for that girl, and I also thought, if I don't get back to Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm going to be where her mother is, because I can't live like I'm living. I can't live and feel the way I feel. And that was what got me back. That's what got me willing to go to any length. You know, there's a guy, Frank Priest, he passed away last year, whenever, and Frank used to talk about surrenders. And he said he thought there were two major surrenders that we make. The first one is when we walk through the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the second one is when we decide to follow the program. See, because I was going to do what I felt like doing, because that's what I've always done. And I'm a sneaky little woman, and that woman who decided that she was going to be my sponsor knew it. And I needed her. I needed her without knowing that I needed her. I just thought she was being mean to me. But I was so sneaky that I was only going to do what I felt like doing, or what you saw me, you know, if you were watching, I would act right then. Anyway, I got willing. I surrendered and became willing to do anything, not just to stay sober, but to feel all right. You know, that doesn't mean that I don't feel badly sometimes. I certainly do. I even give myself permission to get in my bed and cover up. You know, and all the women I sponsor, I said, you get 20 minutes. I told a woman that one time. She said, oh, I know it's self-pity. I said, fine. Do it for 20 minutes. Just get in the bed and just wallow. Just put your arms out like this, you know, like you're on the cross, and just, feel so sorry for yourself. And she, you know, she just thought I was, she got, about an hour later, she called me. I said, do you feel better? She said, no, I feel worse. I said, you do? Did you give it 20 minutes? She says, I thought you said 40. I thought, well, if I laid down for 40 minutes and gave myself permission to feel that sorry for myself, I'd feel bad too. You know, so, no, you give it 20 minutes. Anyway, I do. What I found out, you know, what I found out here is that I'm human. And somehow, and I'm not saying the nuns told me this, and I'm not saying that the priest told me this, or that my mother told me, but somehow I got a message somewhere that I could be better than human. And I had made mistakes, and I had done things that I didn't think I could be forgiven for, or that could be rectified. I didn't know how to clean things up and go on. Thank God for the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank God for the 4th and 5th step where we can clean up all that. I mean, put all that stuff out there and look at it and say, yeah, you were a mess. You know, and make amends to people that we've harmed, and then go on. See, I never knew what to do about that. So I would get drunk. I mean, what do when you slept with somebody's husband and you know you shouldn't? You get drunk and tell you didn't do that. And if you did, it was him. He was the pursuer and you were not the pursuee. You know what? Nonsense. No, I mean, that's a kind of lie I could tell myself. But with the program, you know, what I've got is a way to live, and what I am is human. I'm not better than human, I'm just human. We were talking recently about character building and how it's so easy just to fall back into the old way of just doing what we feel like doing and not just trying to do things a little bit better. You know, I can't get away with that stuff anymore. I thank God for that too. It doesn't work anymore for me. When I started drinking, when I had my first drink, where it counted, my mother had died, and it was between the time she died and when she was buried. And I had my first drink of alcohol where it counted, where it made me feel, where it made me stop feeling is what it did. And I loved alcohol for that reason, because it could stop the way I felt. If I was feeling bad, then I could have a few drinks and not feel bad anymore. Put on some music, dance for a little while, and clean my house and get the kids busy, and I'd be okay. Anyway, I mentioned my husband. I got married when I was 20, and I guess this is the 27th, right? On the 30th, we'll be married 33 years. And people were taking bets back in 1963 when we got married that it wasn't going to last, because we're an interracial couple. And people said, well, how is that going to work? And I thought, I don't know. And I hadn't really thought about it. I hadn't planned it. I never planned much, you know, I just kind of happened into things. Also, I have, when I was talking about not knowing how to clean things up and then go on, I thought my life was ruined because I had my first child when I was 16, and a nice Catholic girl who says she's a nice Catholic girl does not have children at 16 or any other age until she's married. Then you do that. But I got things all mixed up. You know, my world just kind of fell apart when my mother died, and I never quite got back on. I didn't get back on track until I got to AA. I really didn't. The death of my mother was probably the most traumatic thing that has ever happened to me. Anyway, I got to come to California when I was 18, and I decided to start all over. I had this little 2-year-old by then, and then I met my husband-to-be, and we got married when I was 20, and we've been married 33 years, and my older daughter's 36 now, and she's in my life. She came home for Christmas with her husband, and when our leader tonight was talking about making amends to the children about Christmases, I was thinking about a Christmas where when I was drinking, I could almost get it all together. I could never quite get everything right. So this particular Christmas, I had bought the presents, and I had bought the food, and I had done everything I was supposed to do, and I wrapped the presents, and then I had a few drinks. I mean, that's what I deserved to drink. I had done all that work. But what happened was that I always went a little too far, so I got drunk, and when I came to at 2 o'clock the next afternoon, Christmas Day, that little girl, who was about 4 years old at the time, had been up for hours, and she had not touched anything under the tree because I hadn't put names on them, and she couldn't have read it anyway. So the one thing that she played with was the one thing that she knew my sister had given her. So she played with that with no food because I was drunk. And I didn't think about that until I was sitting in a meeting one day like this, and a man talked about how quiet it was at his house on Christmas. And I started to cry, and I couldn't stop crying. And I didn't know what was wrong with me until my sponsor said, "What is wrong? What hurts you? What are you thinking?" And I told her about that Christmas when that little girl had nothing to play, nothing to eat, and one thing to play with. All the stuff was there, but I couldn't quite get it together. I couldn't quite finish it. And that's one of the things I've been so grateful for, is that since I've been sober, I've been able to start things and finish them. My children have had good Christmases since I've been sober because I've been there. My younger daughter, my older daughter was 15 when I got pregnant again for the second time in my entire life, and I thought God didn't know what he was doing because I didn't want another baby. But that was his will and certainly not mine, and I thought he was making a big mistake. And that if there is such a thing as an invisible line that you cross from drinking socially to drinking alcoholically, I think that's when I crossed that line because I thought all my dreams were gone. I just wanted to do something else. I didn't know what. I just didn't want to be a mother and a housewife, and that was all so boring. And I knew I was made for better things. Don't ask me what. I hadn't been trained to do anything, but I knew I was meant for better things than that. And so here I am with this new little kid, got to start all over from scratch, and I really started to drink alcoholically then, I think. And until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was drinking daily, and I would tell myself, when I got up in the morning, if I had my breakfast, then I could have a drink. So what I would do is I'd have a cup of tea, and then I would have a bourbon and water, because I'd had breakfast. I mean, a lie is nothing for me to tell. I mean, and I can tell good ones. I told such lies, I believed them. Excuse me. So I was drinking every morning and telling myself I wasn't going to, and finally, finally, through the grace of God and the prayers of people, obviously people were praying for me, because I don't think I would have gotten here otherwise. Got here to AA and found out that I'm a human being who doesn't know how to live, who doesn't know it's okay to be flawed, who doesn't think it's okay to make mistakes. Because even now, if I picked this clock up and it slipped through my hand and it fell on the floor, the first thing would come to there's a little voice that says, you know better. Like, why did you pick it up? Why did you touch it? I mean, I would go on and on and on about why I dropped that clock, because I'm not allowed to have accidents. I mean, all this stuff comes from, the messages that I got as a kid, and the idea, of course, that certainly you are not good enough. You are never going to be good enough. Well, I am the best I have ever been, and I am enough, and I am good enough. It takes time. I remember I used to sit at Felicity House on Thursday, and those women, I thought they were so lovely. I had about, 6 months, and they seemed to have so many years, and they seemed so wise, and they used to talk about themselves and the things that they were doing in sobriety. And one woman said, I look at myself in the mirror, I look in my eyes, and I tell myself, I love you. So I ran right home because I wanted to do whatever they said they were doing. I couldn't look myself in the eye. I mean, I literally could not look me. I could look at my eyebrows, I could look at my hair, I could look at my big nose, I could check out my ears, but I could not look me in the eyes. Today I can look myself in the eyes, and I just think I am a pretty nice person. I am one of God's kids, and he's crazy about me. My sponsor told me that God is crazy about me. He has a picture of me in his wallet. She said, oh, she did. I've had 3 sponsors. My first one, the lady who started bossing me around, bless her heart, and thank God for her, was with me for 2 years. And then for a little while, I had a little gentleman who was 83 years old. Now they said, men sponsor men and women sponsor women, but since he was 83, I thought I was safe. I thought he was safe too. But anyhow, that was not the thing to do. I don't know, but he looked so peaceful. He had the most angelic little face, and I really wanted what he had. But I didn't know I was going to have to live and have experiences and have pain and go through all that stuff in order to feel the way he felt. I wasn't going to get what he had by osmosis. I was going to have to live sober to feel the way he did. Anyway, that didn't work, and then I found this wonderful woman, the one who told me that God was crazy about me. She was my sponsor for 12 years. And in June 1st, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And on June the 30th, she died. And we weren't just sponsoring baby. She really was my best friend. She moved up to Fresno 4 years ago, and she sponsored a lot of women, and when she was getting ready to go, she said, okay, now, I've told Dorothy to call you, and I've told Mary to call her, and I've told this. So she was parceling out her babies is what she was doing, and I just looked at her and said, don't even bother. Don't bother telling me to call anybody. I'm calling you. You're my sponsor, and I don't have time to break anybody else in. So she just laughed, and I called her every week, sometimes twice a week, and she called me too. One of the things that we always did at Christmas, she'd come down and we'd go to Nordstrom's together. And it was, I don't know, and then we'd sit out at that food court and watch the people, and we went to the movies together. She was my friend, and I miss her so much. And I tell you, it was just absolutely devastating, because she was the person I could call that I could tell the petty stuff to. You know, that little yucky stuff that you just don't want to tell anybody because you don't want anybody to know that you are just that big of a mess. Well, she's the one that I would tell that to. And she would say, did you drink, honey? And I'd say, no, Grace. She'd say, well, that's okay. You know, that's all right. You just keep coming back. No matter what I told her, she'd say, did you drink, honey? You know, what a blessing. See, because I thought I still would get into that. I got to get this perfect now. I'm 15. I got to really get it together. Well, if you know somebody who really has it together, I don't want to know them. Because she was 27 years sober when she died. And she still, you know, she said, honey, we're going to have these defects until they pack the last spade of dirt in our faces. And that, you know, what freedom. Not freedom, not license to act a fool and to take advantage of the fact that I am a nut. But, but to just be human, and it's okay. To make mistakes and say I'm sorry for them and try not to, and go on. I mean, what a simple concept, and yet I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do that until I got here and started practicing. One of the other things that has happened this year, 2 months ago, one of the women I sponsor was diagnosed with 2 brain aneurysms, and I don't know what I thought an aneurysm was. And then we looked it up on the internet, and then after I found out, I thought, okay, well, but the doctors are going to take care of that, and I don't know if that's denial or what it is, but I talked to her on a Wednesday night, and she said, no matter what they say, I want you to come tomorrow. And when I got there, she was brain dead because they had something slipped, and they punctured the aneurysm themselves. And you know, I'm still reeling behind that. We had a party, and I keep thinking, who's missing? And I know who's missing, but it's like, who's missing? It's not been a fun year, and I haven't had to drink about any of it. And somebody out there might say, well, so what? They don't understand. I would drink about anything. Anything. My best friend died, and I miss her. I miss her a lot. I miss her when something happens. I'll tell you something, this is really petty. I ran into somebody a couple of weeks ago who had gained a lot of weight. Now, the reason I mention is because I have fought this weight problem for years. I mean, I go up and down and back and forth. So every time I see somebody who's gained weight, I am real happy about it. Now, is that petty or what? I thought, wow, I can't wait to get home and call Grace and tell her that so-and-so gained weight. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, I couldn't call her and tell her. You know, that's what I miss. I know that may sound petty to somebody, and I really don't care. I'm telling you what I did and what was working for me and what I miss. I miss her. She allowed me to be human. You know, if you have somebody in your life, if you have a sponsor who just lets you be human, thank God for them. And if you ever have an opportunity to sponsor anybody, if you will let them just be human, what a blessing. Anyway, I have, my sponsor used to say that I guess something like for a human being to be happy, they need someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. And I have a lot of love in my life. My husband is there. He doesn't go to Al-Anon, and he needs it. He does. I'm just sure he does. And my children are there. My youngest daughter is here on vacation. She's going to graduate in May from Georgetown University, you know, and I'm just so proud of her. I was there for her. I was awake. Imagine that. I was sober from the time she was 6 years old. And I have to believe I had something to do with the fact that she was able to go that far from home and to be a straight A student for almost 4 years and to graduate on time. I thank God for that. You know, the blessings in my life today are just, they can't be measured. And if anybody had told me that that's what I would look at and say, this is wonderful. See, because I don't have any money anymore. I never did have any money. I just had a lot of credit. And that counts. That counts. You can buy a lot of things on credit. Well, the company my husband works for went right down the tubes, and we went with it. And so I don't have the things that I used to have. But boy, I have so much. You know, I have a husband and children, and I still have a home, and I have work. For 13 years now, I've been the librarian at a little private school in Palos Verdes. When I first went there, I used to have anxiety attacks. I would pull into the parking lot, and my heart would start to race, and I would think, today they're going to find out. Today they're going to find out. They're going to know that I don't know what I'm doing. And so for 13 years, I've been doing what I do, and they haven't found out yet. So anyway, I've had so many blessings. And just by walking through those doors, just by being willing to come back, they just said, keep coming back. That's all they said. They didn't ask me to do anything else. What a blessing. And this God that my sponsor told me about, who's crazy about me, I know he has to be. Because how else could a drunken woman, how else could a person who got up every morning and says, I'm not going to do it today, I'm not, and by 11 o'clock I'd be drunk, how is it possible that I'm standing here tonight 15 years sober? He must be crazy about me. I hope you keep coming back, because he's crazy about you. Thanks.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I don't not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.